Hi Cancer, it's a noisy afternoon in my neighborhood, so don't mind the racket. But I created a tarot reading for you. I got it all spread out, and what it is about, it's about a situation where you feel like you've been misled into a connection, like you tried to give it your all, give it all, like you put an honest effort into it, but I sense that the other person wasn't portraying themselves as their true being, and you're really getting to know who they are, and you're like, but that's not necessarily what I wanted. And now you're just kind of facing the music and trying to make some decisions about that. So I'm going to go further in depth, but I did want to say that if you don't resonate with this story, if you don't feel like there's anything that you can get out of it, make sure and check out the readings that I have posted for the placements for your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mars, because different places on our chart can light up at different times in our lives. But also there are many other tarot readers on YouTube that you can check out. What matters is that you get the advice that you need. So let's go ahead and get started with this situation that I just described. First of all, I always start with an affirmation card. Excuse my itchy nose. That means magic is happening. Okay. I love myself. That's what I always like to, I like to start with it and end with it. Remember that you are like, I know that this is already happening inside of you. This is the strong, like I get this sense of power and strength coming from your energy. That's like, you know, I never stopped loving myself. Just because I got myself in a situation that isn't very beneficial to me doesn't mean that I made a mistake. Like the whole time you've loved yourself. You have never let yourself down. So anytime that it might cross your mind, like, did I really like drop the ball on this somehow? How could I have been so foolish? How could I have been so romantic to believe that this person was somebody that they weren't? Was I stupid? Like, I don't know, right? Remember that you have always been looking out for yourself. And it's actually not that they're a bad person. They've been not portraying themselves as who they are. They put on a mask to keep you around. And it's really disappointing for you, but it's just like that's the situation that I'm in right now. I clarified it with the 8 of Swords, which it often represents a person that feels like they're tied up by the constraints that they've created in their minds. But in this case, it was like someone else took advantage of the constraints that you have. You're like, the constraint, the limitation, the boundary that you have for yourself is like, I'm an honorable person and I do what I say I'm going to do. And I told that person I was going to be there for them, and I was there for them. And that's the issue. That's what's come down to is like, okay, at one point do I say no? At what point do I walk away and say, I can't do this anymore, because you're not doing your part. You're not being the person that you said you portrayed yourself as being. So like, even though you're just fine as you are, it doesn't match my needs. You said that you could match my needs, but you can't. And we have to face that. And you're afraid you're going to let them down. So let's talk about that, right? I look at the internal environment, and that's where I get this story from. So not only do we have the 8 of Swords, we also have the 6 of Swords, which tells me that the two of you have been in a struggle that's gone on for years, possibly a long time, but probably maybe even years, where the two of you have gone, like you've said, like, you have needs, they have needs, you have conflict, you get over it, and it's going back and forth and back and forth. It might seem like the whole time you were working on this relationship has not been stable. And once it finally started to stabilize and ground itself, you got to take a step back, and you're like, I'm not waiting for this to turn into what I wanted. This is not what I wanted. This is stable now, yeah, but it's not the stability, like the form that it's taken is not what I wanted. That's not what I expected this to be. So you're like, is it a shameful thing? You see how she's like, this person is kind of humped over in shame as she's leaving the situation. But, you know, it is what it is. But what I love about this person that's controlling the boat, I feel like for you, that's the universe, God, spirit, your guardian angels. They're like, we will carry you to a better place if you let us. you have to give up on taking control of the situation by, you know, saying, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work. You have not been able to make it work. For years, you've been trying to make it work, and it hasn't worked. Let the universe, let the spirit take you where you need to go. And I've got more of that being reinforced in the advice, and I'll get back to it. But I just wanted to mention that person that's driving the boat is your guardian spirits that are trying to look out for you. So yeah, we have the Knight of Pentacles. I feel like this is the person that you're in connection with, your lover or your partner. This is maybe a friend or a business partner even, but I'm leaning more toward the romantic. That's the sense that I get, because it's something that really weighs heavily on you. But this person had big promises, and they've come through on some of them, but not on the most important ones. And you waited a long time for the efforts that they have made. But I mean, you can give them props. You can thank them for the efforts that they have made. It's just too late and not enough. And what you need is just not fitting. Yeah. The way you need it is just not fitting. It's not suiting you. And then so as you're pivoting from being like disappointed, feeling a little bit disgraced by the whole situation, you're like, but I love myself. I always have. I know my value. I know that it's not dependent on being in a relationship with someone, and that as I walk away from this, I've become a stronger person. And I love that you see it that way. I love that you have learned so much from this situation. So I'm so proud of you, Cancer. So this is you feeling good, feeling good with your other friends, your other companions, like the people that care about you are really supportive, and they know what a good person you are. And in fact, they might even like also agree that this person that you've been going around with is a really good person. They love the person that you're connected with too. They support both of you, whether you're together or not. So I feel like everything can be amicable for all of you if you can present yourself in an amicable way. If you can present yourself and like, I honor you, it's just not working, right? Let's be honest. And I feel like this is you going about your journey. This whole experience has been for your growth. It was like it was already set up before you even started it. It was part of the journey. And the Chariot is like being in the middle of a journey that you've been driven forward with by the Spirit. So getting involved with this person in the first place was part of your growth experience. And moving on and, diversifying your interactions with other people, that's part of your growth experience as well. It's all part of the plan. It's all the way it should have been. So don't resonate with shame or guilt when it comes to the way everything has played out, the direction everything is going right now, because it is exactly the way it should be. In fact, you should celebrate the opportunity to have loved someone and then to release them. Easier said than done, I know, but that's what we should be doing. Okay, so before I steer toward the advice, I just want to mention that if you've been loving this reading so far, give it a thumbs up, please, Cancer, and you can subscribe and be in the loop for all the readings that come up. And on Shorts, this has been a real hit lately, is on the Shorts platform. I've been posting 1 minute monthly overviews, monthly and mid-monthly overviews. Excuse me. For your love and money messages, and they're just like 45 seconds, right? And you can get a quick overview, but you'll only be in the loop for it if you're subscribed. So make sure and do that. And in the description box below this video, you will find a link to my Instagram, so you can be reminded that I'm around. Let's be friends. Let's be friends, because I have still a pretty small Instagram group. So I notice when people follow me. You can just say, hey, I caught you on YouTube and I loved it. So let's go on and find out what you need to know First, I'm going to look at what to embrace and what to leave behind going forward before I look at the individualized pieces of advice for what to consider, what to leave behind. We've got, this is like the detail-oriented Virgo kind of energy, but it's like, don't, it's saying you used to invest so much into this relationship. It was something that you put a lot of effort into. It felt good to you, okay, to be putting that effort into it when it happened. But now you're like, maybe I should have been, pull back on the investment of my time and energy, and instead focus on myself and focus on getting to know new people. Okay, focus on, instead of having your nose to the grindstone working on the relationship, it's time to look up, put your tools down, and find an alternate distraction, not the relationship anymore. And what to embrace, we've got the High Priestess. I do love this for you. Sometimes the High Priestess is associated with Cancer. It's usually more with Pisces, but it's this energy of deep knowing of what the truth is. You have always known what the truth was about this connection. You always knew it. And every time you tried to get out of it, that person would reel you back in and say, no, I want to make this work. Let's do this. Let's make it work. And you're like, I know it's not going to work. I know this is just a short-term thing. I know this is just an experience for us to help each other out in this moment, but it's really time. You know it. Embrace that knowing, that connection that you have with the Great Spirit, with the universe, with God, and embrace that connection that you have, that voice that is telling you it's time to release this connection. Okay, embrace it. Okay, so the advice that we have for allowing yourself to be helped by the universe in leaving behind this thing that you've invested so much into for several years or longer. You're being advised to disconnect from your ego about it, because I feel like nobody's going to negatively judge you. Nobody really actually cares whether or not you're in a relationship with this person. They just want to see you happy. And if you have not been happy for a long time, they're sure the hell sick of hearing you bitch about it. So release your attachment to whether or not you're in a relationship with this person, and just be like, okay, I'm a failure, whatever. You weren't a failure. You successfully stayed in a relationship that wasn't working. That makes you the opposite of a failure. That makes you you're a big trier. And it's not, I don't feel like anybody's at fault. You know how we have non-fault divorces these days? It's just irreconcilable differences. Nobody's fault, right? Nobody did anything bad. We just let it go. We just aren't emotionally attached to the whys of the disconnection. And instead we're like, okay, just let it go. Now we have the Five of Swords in considering that this person said, like, they had a big talk about how they were going to, there was a lot of big talk about what they were going to do, and then they never really, that didn't show up 100%, maybe a little bit, but not totally, and it was really slow process. It made you feel really taken advantage of at the time. I feel like you're still having these little flashes where occasionally you're like, they really took advantage of me, and I feel resentful about being misled in that way. Like, if they knew they weren't going to follow through, why didn't they just let me go when I could have moved on with my life already, right? So there's like twinges of resentment that might come up. It's really important for you to, when you feel those twinges come up, say, yeah, I have a good reason to feel that way. However, I have to release it, because resentment is a vibration that will hurt your body. It creates, I believe that it creates cancer. I believe it creates all kinds of health problems, and it lowers your vibration and prevents you from being able to connect with new people in a positive way. You're going to attract more negative connections instead of attracting really positive ones. And like your household, your money, your abundance, it's all going to be affected by this shield that you put over your heart that's called resentment. So even though you have every reason to feel that way, it's important for you to not stay there. You need to move on and let that period of your life slide behind you. Reflecting off of what you have positive going for you, that you are supported by the people in your community, your friends, your family, and like they all see that you did your best, right? So it's time to rebuild yourself. Rebuild yourself as who you want to be. So I do see a connection between the pentacles in this, all the effort that you put into the relationship, and this person holding this apprentice. This is the master, this is the apprentice, right? It's like, now I'm going to invest in something new, and I don't feel like you should be jumping into investing into a new relationship with a different person. I feel like you need to be rebuilding, be the apprentice that's rebuilding your identity and self-image, and use that as a foundation for meeting somebody else. So instead of going through a bunch of effort to spoil this person that you've been in connection with, you need to be spoiling yourself and be your own best partner for a little while you heal. Okay. And then finally, whoop, whoop. I like this as a final ending card for you, Cancer. You're like, when am I gonna have sex again? You will. It's in the cards for you, but it's like you've got this light that's bursting out of you after such a long period of stress and worry about whether or not you could make this relationship work. You're finally busting out of that cage, of that shell of the stress. You know, you're busting out, and it's like you got a fire lit inside of you, and you're gonna be really attractive. Like I said, I wouldn't rush into anything, but I think you're gonna get a lot of positive attention as you transition away from this relationship. So this is where I leave off. I love you, Cancer. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and subscribe over here so that we can be in the loop together. Love ya. I'll see you later.